Hello everybody, welcome back to Music Talk Live number 42. As always, Saturday 6:30 p.m. Central European Time, and strange times across the world where I know there's quite a few of you watching. So welcome everyone, whatever your time is at the moment. And I don't think saving time makes anything easier, right? So I always say what time it is somewhere else in the world, but not today because I don't want to screw it up for you. Hello Jenny, good to see you. Oh yes, you see, first comment. Yes, it's just because we changed we switched to what is it? Is it saving time or back from saving time? I don't know, but from whatever it is. So it's still 6:30 p.m. here. So hopefully you'll be getting your notifications correctly from YouTube. So that's why I always say subscribe for me, because I really appreciate it for the channel, but the bell thing really is for you because you never know when I'm going live. I mean, we all know when I'm going live, but it really depends on the powers that be. Hello Alex, good to see you. So our good friend Desafinados, great guitar player as you guys know, is back. Levent from Turkey, right? Good to see you. Reki from France, and Darizar from Canada, if I have that right. And if you're not in the chat, please join us, because I really enjoy hearing from you and knowing a little bit about you, if you play, if you don't play, what your level is and where you're from, and all the cool stuff. Today is going to be a pretty cool one. It's good to be back live. As you know, once in a while I have to pre-record these videos, but I still do them live. I just set up the camera and talk. There's no edits, and last week was one of those. But and Jim, hello Jim, he's from the UK, I think. So we have pretty much well, quite a few countries already represented, but if you are missing your own country, feel free to let us know where you're from. And so what was I saying? Yes, that you should hit the bell, because now with times changing across the planet at different time, you know, you do want to know when we're live. But if you are if you're on top of it, then it's every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Central European Time. All right, so today, oh, of course, Alex, you're from Spain, you're from Madrid, right? And beautiful city, Madrid. I've actually been there not too long ago. That's why I couldn't make a couple of these videos on time for being here live. So what is there to say? Have you been watching the 1 chord a week video? Let me please plug that really quickly. You should watch it. And it's one video every Tuesday, and I teach you a new chord. And I'm recording so many of them, I don't even know where I'm at. But I really want to have them done, because there will be quite a few interesting things in the future, and so I want to make sure that series goes on. So, and so I'm recording a lot of them, and there's some really cool and interesting chords coming up, and I mix them up so I don't follow any order, and I think it would be very beneficial to anyone, even if you know a lot about guitar. Learn 3 chords every week is really useful. And oh, that's right, Alex, you're from Zaragoza. That's right, another beautiful city. And kind of halfway between us, between Madrid and Barcelona is Zaragoza. If you haven't been there, if you are from abroad, Zaragoza, you should check it out. It's a really cool city. But what else? Well, let me plug one more thing, the free 21 Licks book, this one, because I had a little poll on the channel last week asking if you guys were interested in me doing a video for each one of these 21 licks. If you don't know, the 21 Licks is a free PDF, no strings attached. There's nothing you have to give me. No data or anything. I don't even want your email. You just download it. It's 21 licks and excerpts from and musical ideas from songs and my songs, but you don't even have to like the music. You can just use them as exercises, or just to start an inspiration to do maybe a certain technique or a certain device for your solos or melodies. So it's pretty cool, right? And you should download it. There's a link down there. Nothing else. You just click the link and you get the book. Nothing. I don't even need to know, but you can tell me if you enjoy it. Alberta, that's right. Oh, all right, so we are on the same time now. That is art, except you are probably like 6 or 7 hours back from us. But yeah, so the times on YouTube, because it's such a worldwide audience, are screwed up. I've given up trying, so I just suggest people hit the bell, and then you'll know when I'm live. And today is going to be pretty cool, because we're going to talk about vibrato, and maybe we'll just get started, all right? Because maybe I do go on a bit too long on these intros here, but I do want to say hello to everyone first, because we're becoming friends slowly but surely. As soon as we start traveling again, maybe we'll be able to meet each other. Maybe I can go and play your city or something. Jose, what's up? You're back and my licks link is not working. It should be working. Have you tried copying into your browser? Because it should work. it should work. I will try it again later. So by the time you watch this, if you're from the future, it will be fixed. I know quite a few people actually have downloaded it. So maybe try pasting it onto your browser. Sometimes Google Drive does a little bit of a weird thing. But otherwise, you can always, if you're watching this, you can always send me an email. There's also an email down there, and it's for private lessons, but it doesn't matter. Send me an email and I'll send you the PDF. It's no issue at all. You can share it with your friends. Just don't change the name on it. Don't pretend it's yours. But otherwise, it's free for everyone. So feel free to post it anywhere you want. Just make sure you say what it is. Don't, whatever. I don't think you'll do that. But anyway, so about the 21 licks, I did a poll saying that I would make one video per lick starting maybe in the next few weeks. And it was pretty well received, so I will do it. I will do that as soon as I'm done recording all the chords. And the chords will go on until end of the summer, probably early fall next year. So I still have to record a lot of them. Then I will edit them as we go along, all right? Because there's going to be a few changes coming up, and I'll tell you about them later. But I want to make sure the series keeps going. Okay, so today's video is on vibrato, and before we get started, I would like to know what it is you're looking for in this video, although I kind of have it planned already, but I would like to see what it is where you're at. Like, are you okay with your technique on vibrato? Are you happy with it? Are you missing something? Maybe you're going back always to the same thing. It's become a nervous twitch, your vibrato, you're not really in control of it. Let me know in the chat, please, and I will try to direct this video towards your needs. But as always, these videos are pretty hard because I'm trying to encompass everyone. So if something is a bit too easy for you, hang in there. I'll do some more advanced stuff and vice versa. All right. So yes, long time no see you. Yeah, Jose, it's good to see you, and it's good to see all of you. You guys are great. So let's begin. Yeah. Here it is. What is vibrato? Well, vibrato is you all kind of know what it is, but do you actually stop and think about it? And usually people say, well, vibrato is this, right? But it's there's actually a definition, and I'm by no means an expert. As you know, I started playing guitar, and they just threw me right at the deep end of the pool, and I was playing live, and and doing all kinds of stuff just to survive the situation. So whatever I say, take it for what it is, and then you can expand on it, you can interpret it, and you can discard what you don't need. But basically, vibrato is a periodical change and fluctuation in pitch or volume or volume. On guitar, really, we're talking more about a vibrato as a pitch change, okay? And so that's what we're going to be focusing on. But basically, is a periodical variation of a musical parameter, right? In this case, is pitch. Sometimes volume is called tremolo, but tremolo is something else in classical music than, sometimes you buy a tremolo pedal, is a pedal that goes like this. But that's not the actual name. So tremolo is really the classical term for tremolo. It's kind of a vibrato for volume. Today we're going to focus on the vibrato on pitch, okay? But so it's the idea here is that you have a note and you kind of breathe life into it by using vibrato. And vibrato is one of those really, really big deals if you're a guitar player, all right? It's such a big deal, actually, that even Liszt, the pianist, would tell on his score, it would say, now here's a vibrato, and you can't vibrate, you can't do vibrato on a piano, of course, because a piano is like a switch, on, off. You have volume control, but you don't have pitch control, and yet somehow it would say, okay, here you have to vibrate the note. And so it's a really big deal. For voice, everybody takes it for granted, even though there are a few exceptions, like choirs, like church boy choirs, really are void basically of vibrato, but usually everybody has vibrato, right? So you think, well, who's my favorite singer? What kind of vibrato he has? What my favorite guitar player? We all have our favorite guitar players, and they have their distinctive vibrato. And some kinds of music have a very constant vibrato, like classical music. You see a classical player, they're always going like this and like that. And we'll talk about that, actually, because I think a lot of people misunderstand what is actually going on a classical vibrato. I want to share it with you because I think it's very fascinating, and it will really enlighten your future vibratos, okay? But that's what it is, right? So vibrato is a periodical change in our case today, pitch, okay? So if I have a note, I'm changing its pitch periodically, okay? And I have control over certain variables here that we'll talk about later, all right? Mainly speed and depth. And we're going to talk about those in a little bit. Before we begin, I want to share what I think is one of the biggest mistakes we make with vibrato, which is that we always play vibrato. And vibrato is a delicate technique, and it's a technique that's very expressive. And if you play it all the time without really knowing what it is you're doing, you diminish it. You're actually diminishing the depth and the importance of the technique. Okay, so if you're always doing this, right, it really doesn't make any sense. So my first advice sometimes for people is, okay, pretend you're a singer, right? Imagine you're singing, and you probably don't want to be wobbling all over the place every syllable you sing. So one advice you can give is maybe reach the note you want, right? You're going for a certain note, and when you feel that note needs that variation, then you can apply the vibrato. And that simple advice has saved a lot of my students from a lot of trouble, because as soon as you think of that, then your ear starts hearing different things. Like, okay, well, so when should I start the vibrato? Okay, something that was extremely mechanical now becomes something conscious, and it's a choice. So they go, okay, well, when am I going to start the vibrato? And as soon as you think of when you're going to start it, you're going to start thinking, well, am I going to start it all at the same time? So am I going to go from 0 to 100? Am I going ramping it up? Am I starting fast and holding it? Am I starting slow and bringing it up in speed? You know, so those two main variables, that's speed and depth, they become more conscious, and it has a big effect on the sound. So that's the first thing I would give you as advice. Of course, unsolicited advice. I understand that you're not asking for advice, but I'm giving it to you anyway, and because it's my channel. And so that's the first thing. So let a note play out, and then when you notice that it needs something, then you do the vibrato. And I've seen this mistake in many people, in many different styles of music and many different levels. So it's nothing to feel bad about. I always have to double check myself, you know. But let me see your comments. Vibrato and bend, the hardest techniques. That can be true. You like wide and slow vibrato? Yes. Well, Alex has a great vibrato, so you don't need to be here really, but I appreciate you being here. Levent, I'm always making some noise while vibrating and bending by touching other strings. Okay. Pianos need a fourth pedal, yes, and work on vibrato every day. Nearly happy with it, going for a half step by a lot of subtleties. All right, really cool. So I think you'll enjoy this little video here. So let's talk a little bit about the physics of vibrato. It's very simple, of course. When you play a string, we'll move on from the voice now. When you play a string on an instrument, that string has a specific tension that is associated with its length. So the sum, or the interaction between the length of the string and its tension will, and of course the weight of the string, will give you different notes. And that's, on the guitar, it's already done for you. You have a guitar that's tuned, and you have frets, and now you control the variation in speed, in pitch. On the guitar, well, not on the guitar, but on some instruments, you can affect the pitch in two different directions. You can raise the pitch and you can lower the pitch. And on other instruments, you can only do one way. Technically speaking, the guitar could only go one way, because since I have a fret here, I can't really make the string any longer. Even if I move my finger back, the string thinks that it starts from the fret. So the fret is the starting point of the string. And there's a workaround to it, and that's why I was talking about the classical vibrato, and everybody's doing this, and a lot of people don't know what they're doing, and that's why they don't get both directions. They're still only raising the pitch. So I'm going to show you how it's done. But that's the idea. So we have the vibrato goes from the true pitch. You create variations in that pitch, and usually you will create them in only one direction. So you will raise the pitch. Okay, I'll show you now how you can do both things. You can actually go up and down, up and down. On the guitar, there's almost no limit as how far up you can go. And as a matter of fact, then it becomes a bend. Right, you start reaching other notes. And that's a different technique we're not going to talk about, but if you actually manage to lower the tension, it's a very limited variation. Okay, so the guitar we can kind of think of as an instrument that only allows you to go up in pitch and back down to the true pitch, up, down to true pitch. Other instruments, such as, for example, voice, the human voice, or a violin, because the violin doesn't have discrete frets and discrete subdivisions of the string, you can actually, if you move the finger back, you will actually lower the pitch, okay? So the guitar is a bit different and it's a bit limited, but the physics of the vibrato mean if you have a standard set of tension and length and weight of the string, then you increase the tension because you can't really increase anything else, and you will affect the pitch, all right? And that's it. Now, the physics are important because when you understand the physics, then you'll be able to create your own techniques, okay, as we'll look at in just a second. So let's talk about the full and the half vibrato. This is just my names for it, they're not real, you know, so take it with a, you know, these are the names I use, but you can certainly make up your own. The result says the red curtains behind you are from IKEA. We have the brown set. Wow, you caught me. Yes, they're from IKEA. They're covering a window. If I open it, then a bunch of light comes in and the videos come out looking like crap. But yes. Okay, I feel absurd now. Have you ever played on scallop fretboard? Yes. Yes, I have. And we're going to talk about something that's a little similar to that later, with a few techniques that I use for vibrato. And I'm sure a lot of you, I have nothing to teach you on this, but you know, I'll share it anyway. All right, so full vibrato. The idea here is that the pitch rises and falls around the true pitch. Okay, so basically you have a pitch, let's say is an A, 440, and then you can go maybe to 445, down to 435, down to up to 445, down to 435. All right, that's a full vibrato. And I'm going to show you some techniques later, but this one I'm going to show you right now. And this will be the classical vibrato. Now here's the thing that most people do. They play on a string and they go like this. Now of course keep in mind I can't really hear my guitar because it will feed back with the microphone, but something like this. You hear that? That's a very shitty vibrato, okay? That's just a bunch of noise on the string and some, of course, random variations because usually we are changing the strength of the finger on the fretboard and we have a slightly strange upwards movement in pitch, okay? So that's not how it's done. I'm sure some of you know how it's done, but I'm going to go over it. What is done on classical vibrato is this. You put your finger on the fret, on the string, and then with the tip of your finger, which usually you'll have calluses on your fingers, and the strings, and this works better on the wounded strings. So let's start on the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and then we'll move on to the other ones. You will actually hold the string with the tip of the finger and pull back. You hear that? I'm not pressing any harder, all right? I'm not doing this. We'll talk about that later, which is something like similar to what Alex says about scallop necks. I'm actually pulling it back, making it longer. Imagine I'm taking some pliers and pulling this way on the string, okay? Or here. You hear that? So now what I'm doing is I'm actually increasing the tension of the string. And you're like, well, so what? That's what I do when I do this. Yes, but if I can do it on this axis, I mean on this direction, I can also do it in this direction, which means I can actually lower the pitch of a fretted instrument because now the distance, of course, is the same from the fret, but I have more string doing it. And if you actually use a tuner, you see, I'm seeing it now. Going up and down, all right? So you grab the string with the tip of the finger, push back, push forward, and that's what you're doing. You're not doing this, right? No, you're doing this. And you're actually creating a fluctuation that goes up, down, up, down. Now, there is a certain limit, of course, to how far you can go down from the true pitch. That's pretty much it. It's a slight variation, a few cents. And it's easier to pull than to push. So you have to develop a certain a certain sensibility to it, so you're not overdoing one over the other. But then you can do it, and you can feel how you're actually pulling and pushing the string, right? So it's really interesting, and it's very important that you figure it out. So practice it. Don't press too hard. It has nothing to do with how hard you press. Okay, I'll stop now, because you see, that's what I would do. I would just start playing it for 2 hours, and then you'll eventually master it. It's really cool. That is so weird. Actually works. Never noticed it done this way. Yes. Well, I thought you would find it interesting because it took me a long time to figure it out. I was doing this all the time, and it sounded like crap. And I'm like, why does it sound like crap? You're actually not. Well, I went over it. I will repeat it. Okay. So that's the first thing, and this is really the only option you have on guitar traditionally of doing full vibrato. So you raise and lower the pitch below and above the true pitch. You could do it with the bar. Okay. One thing I will say before we go on, it doesn't really matter if I follow any specific order, is that when you're actually bending the usual way, which is the one we're going to look at right now, actually, the halfway. Halfway means I have a true pitch and I can only go up and back to the true pitch, up and back to the true pitch, and so on. When you do that, be mindful of this, okay? Be careful. Doing this is not going up and down. You're actually going up and down with your fingers, but you're still only raising the pitch. You understand that, I'm sure, 100%, but if I have a resting what do you call it? A resting situation here for the string, I'm increasing the tension. Any way I go, if I go up, I'm still increasing the tension. If I go down, I'm still increasing the tension. So that's different. And it actually sounds pretty bad. Okay, so that's another thing we'll talk about. But basically the half vibrato is, of course, you go up and you come back down to the true pitch. And this is our standard vibrato. And of course you can decide how far up you go or down, but it's the same sound, and how fast. One thing I will say that you should be careful of, and this video will be all kind of peppered with these bits of advice that, again, feel free to ignore, but going up and down, even though technically it should sound the same as only going up, because we said we always raise the tension. So again, if I do this, it's the same as doing this, right? Same sound. I hope you can hear the guitar. Let me know if it's too soft or too loud. If I start alternating between the two, it sounds really bad, right? It will give you an epilepsy attack. No offense, of course, to anyone who's experiencing those. I had some very close friends, so I'm not saying it in a jokingly way, but you'll get all stressed out, right? So what you want is in the same direction and back, okay? And one thing to keep in mind here with the half vibrato is something that is taken care of for you when you do the other vibrato, but now it's not. So make sure, let's say you have a resting true pitch of D, whatever it is, and then you go up, and then you come down, and then you go back up, right? That's what you want to do. Be careful of doing this. You go up, you come down, and you don't quite make it to the D. You are D something, and then you do another cycle, and you come back, and now you're at D something a little more. And then you do another cycle, and then it's a bit higher even. And then you get this very untuned, crappy sounding vibrato. So you go like this. Now this D here, my new home, is not the true pitch. And if I'm playing over something else or with somebody, it will sound like I'm out of tune constantly, right? And then you have to kind of retreat into the vibrato because the vibrato sounds out of tune on purpose, and it will sound like crap. And every note you play will need a vibrato because you can't keep the true pitch. Okay, so make sure you always go back to the true pitch. On the guitar, it's quite easy to see. This is how I did it when I started out with vibrato. I would have a mirror in front of me because I'm a guitar player, and I think the most interesting thing about music is me, because that's how guitar players are. But seriously, I had a mirror, and I would just look at my string, not even at my finger. I would just look at the string and go like this. And I wouldn't start a new cycle until I could see the string perfectly parallel to the other strings, like as if I weren't touching it, you see? If I saw the string here, I wouldn't start the cycle. I would just, okay, well, you need to relax a bit more. And then I could have these full cycles, right? Then you can worry about, I have the first cycle, as long as I'm sure I'm hitting the true pitch again, home pitch, then I will make sure that I'm keeping the same amplitude or width of the vibrato or depth, right? But that's kind of secondary. The first thing is you have to go back to home pitch, all right? So I'm going to be fast today, as you know, because I don't want to bore you, basically. I see some of my videos are very long, and so anyway, opposite the way I want it to work, move finger down, frets, and vibrato goes higher. Yes, that is true. You're making the string softer as you move it towards the bridge. Always something new to learn. Well, that's good to hear. And so this is the half vibrato. If you have any questions, feel free, use the chat. I don't mind at all if you interrupt. And let's talk maybe about some techniques, right? Because once you understand the physics of vibrato, you can make up your own techniques. And it's true. If you think of vibrato and you ask 10 guitar players about vibrato, they say, well, I do this, right? I do that. But really what you're doing is independent of your fingers. What you're doing is you're going for a sound. If you don't go for a sound, you'll end up sounding like those nervous twitch vibratos, which are impossible to listen to. And so, like everything else in music, you should eventually, as soon as possible, actually abandon the technique and go for the sound. So hear the vibrato you want in your mind, and keep in mind that you have these basic rules of physics that apply to it. So basically, how far am I going? How fast am I going that far? And keep in mind the basic one rule, which is if you have a true pitch, get back to that pitch. Don't let the fluctuation of pitch confuse the actual home pitch, okay? Because then it will sound bad to a trained ear. It will sound bad even if you're by yourself. But if you're playing with a band or with a rhythm track, it will sound bad all the time because you'll have this out of tune feel all the time. So some techniques, of course, I will talk about how I do the standard vibrato because I think a lot of people want to know the proper way, so to speak, and it's my way, but it does work. And mainly the vibrato I do is with a fulcrum here on the hand. So I will raise the thumb and I will just use the whole arm. And the reason is that I can switch between vibrato and bend. I won't do it, but I can actually break a string just by bending, because as long as I don't use the fingers are weak, see? I do this legato and I'm losing altitude as I go, but if I use the whole arm, well, I won't do it. I don't want to break the string, but I can stand here for an hour. Listen to that. It's the same exact note. If I hook it up to a tuner, it won't move even a cent, you know, because I'm using the strength from the arm, and the arm can deal with a tiny little string, no problem at all. Now one finger will have a hard time. I will have a hard time hitting the pitch. I will have a hard time manipulating the pitch if I want to vibrate it. So this is an example with bend, but it's the same thing with vibrato, just smaller. So again, I don't want to give that very sensitive task of really exemplifying the expressiveness of what I want to express on the guitar. I don't want to give that to the tiny little joints of my finger, which are weak and delicate. I don't want to break them. I don't want to, you know, turn whatever, you know, when you're 60 or maybe even earlier and have my hands hurt. So I don't do that. I let my arm do the work. So I do this basically, and then you notice that my fingers don't move. The arm moves, but I'm not doing this. You see, my joints aren't working. My arm does the work. All right, and you can do this with one finger. You can do it with all fingers, but they're never doing that. You're never working from the fingers. You always work from the arm. There are other school of thought on this. I don't agree with it. I think there's no reason at all why you should use your fingers unless it's something very minimal. Even then, you see, I always go back to the wrist and the forearm because it sounds better, more control, and safer. A big part of vibrato is when you vibrate a bent note. So you bend and you vibrate, and that becomes impossible with your fingers. You will vibrate all right, but you will just vibrate slowly, falling back like that. It sounds like crap. So always do it with your forearm, and it's a lot safer too. All right, so I don't know how you guys do it, but please share that with me in the comments, in the chat or in the comments, whatever you want. But it's something I'm really passionate about. I've seen students have a really hard time. I've seen students with tendinitis, and I can spot it from a mile away. Even my international students, some of you from across the world, I log on Skype, I say, show me your vibrato, and like, okay, stop. And I don't want anybody to get hurt. And I've seen a lot of issues with this technique of moving the finger, right? So always do it from the arm. Okay, so even the full vibrato, don't do it from the finger, right? You move, you can use the strength of the whole arm. See how easy it is? You see, there's a lot of confidence, and there's a lot of. You see how powerful even the downward. Sorry, not that one. Like that. When I use my arm, I have way more strength than I need, and I can focus on the details. I'm not struggling with the finger, right? So these are the big things that I always see people struggle with. Going back to your comments, there is a really cool vibrato technique, very straight up and down with the index finger and the thumb hand moved away from the neck. Oh yes, the BB King, right? The BB King way. Yes, you guys watch any BB King video live, you'll see what he means. Yes, forearm, someone described it to me as the same action as turning a doorknob. That is correct, kind of in a way, yes, yes. It's just hard to get to at the beginning, but it's really important. So anyway, some stranger techniques that I like to use. I like to use the whammy bar a lot. And the whammy bar again gives me the full. I can go down and up. And what I can do here is I can do this. I can do it with chords. Although chords can be vibrated like this, but I find that pretty hard for me at least. And the bar is. The problem with the bar and chords is that when you lower the bar, because of the different tension on all the strings, they detune at a different ratio and a different rate too. And so it's pretty hard to master, and you have to be very light. If you start, you see that? It's not very deep, but the bass strings just drop off really quickly, and then it gets all out of tune, right? So it's something to be mindful of. But I do enjoy even just a very little touch. Okay, something like that. And I like to use that a lot. One other thing I used to do a lot was just, because I always rest my hand on the bridge, I can just play and just do this. I will do a bit more than usual. See, it sounds, because it's really hard to control, it sounds like one of those ancient chorus effects, like on an old synthesizer, and I really like the sound of it. Some bridges it's easier. When I use the Floyd Roses, were easier because they're a bit, they protrude a bit more from the body, and you can rest a bit more on them. But that's an interesting way of doing it. Another thing I like to do is this, which is very unorthodox, but basically I'm doing the classical thing wrong. I like to play and then just dig into the string. Basically I'm pressing on the string harder, like as if I were trying to touch the wood of the guitar or whatever this is. This is not wood, but okay, so it's similar to the idea that Alex said about scallop necks. Scallop necks have a lot of gap between the string and the frets and the bottom of the neck, but I don't need that much. I can just go. See, it's very light, very easy to go back to home pitch because I just have to release tension, right? Still, you have to be a bit sensitive about it. But I really enjoy it, and it's something that you can use whenever you want something very subtle and very light. I enjoy it. It's hard to be expressive with it. It's kind of like an on-off switch, but with experience, you'll be able to actually graduate it, and change speed. So I like that a lot. What else do I do? Of course I do this, bending the neck. I'm using my thumb like this. Wait, I can see myself. I can see myself on the camera like this. I'm doing this against the neck, which is strange because bending the neck will lower the note. See that? It's going down. But as I'm doing with only one hand, I'm also pressing harder on the finger because that's my other point. And so it has this strange effect. Kind of goes up and down at the same time. And I haven't never seen anybody do it, probably because it doesn't sound too good. I like how it sounds. But that's my contribution to the world of vibrato. This is my technique, and I'm giving it to you for free, which is amazing. You can try it yourself. But here's the idea, you see? I'm doing this, pushing the neck forward with my thumb, and at the same time, I'm actually, to counteract the pressure, I'm ending up pressing harder on the finger. So the finger is raising the pitch and the neck is lowering it. And I feel so excited about this. I know you guys think I'm crazy, but it's my own vibrato, at least that I know of. I have never heard anybody talk about this. So we'll call it, I don't know, we'll give it a name. Yes, spread it across the world and mention me to your students. I'm just kidding, of course, but it is an interesting thing. Circular vibrato, Vi style, Alex says. Yes, that's a bit of a, as far as I understand it, is a different, it's a strange amalgam of different ones, right? So you have, let's say you start up, right? You start up, so you're making the string, you're adding tension, so you're raising the pitch. Then you move towards the front, and that's like the classical one. So technically you're lowering the pitch. Then you go down. Well, wait. As you do that, you're bringing the pitch again at true home pitch. Then you do the same thing backwards, raising it. Then as you go down to the home pitch again, or the home tension, you're pulling on the string, classical way, and then you return. So you kind of have 80%, I guess, going up with the little accent of lowering the pitch. So you go up, lower, up, up. I'm no expert on it. And then, of course, I guess you could do it backwards. And wider. Of course, that's my understanding of it. I'm not Steve Vai, obviously. I wouldn't mind playing like he does, but... And so what else? Other techniques? Well, the bending, the neck. So you grab your guitar and you pull. I always tell my students to be careful with it. I don't want to be responsible for breaking their guitars. And well, there's this, right? That's basic, a bit dumb, but you can play and do that. You can do this sometimes. Look, I can play, I don't know if I have enough sustain on this, it's a clean sound, but if I play a note, that's what sometimes I do. I play a note and increase the tension of another string. You see that? When I pull the string up, the bridge feels a stronger tension and lowers. So I get this downwards vibrato. And it's really obvious when you do it with open strings. See that? Is that a bit dumb? Probably. But you never know. You never know. Sometimes... See, it sounds pretty cool. And I've done it. I've done it many times. But those are some strange techniques, of course. But the idea here is that as soon as you understand properly how the mechanics of vibrato work, then you can make up your own techniques. And I'm sure there's more. I should have written them down, but I didn't think of that. But, you can think of many more, I'm sure. And you can call them Alex, the Tonelli vibrato, yes. Well, we should give them a more impactful name. I'll think of something. But I don't know if you guys have any of your own techniques. Please let me know. As you can tell, probably I spend a lot of time with my guitar, and then I can go through all this stuff and do the work basically for you, not you specifically, but that's what teachers are for. Sometimes they're not really better or anything. They're just people who just decide that they don't go out and they stay home, and instead of going out to a bar and drink, they stay home and play 4 hours of vibrato on a single note, which I have done. And you don't have to do it. I will share with you what I found. But anyway, so these are my ideas. I'm sure I'm leaving something out. Oh yes, one more thing. Mastering the variables, which a good thing I wrote these down before the stream started. So turn the tuning peg with your teeth might work. Oh yes. See, we all have our own techniques, but I'll leave that to you though. You have trouble doing vibrato on the high E string, cannot perform wider because of the string position in the neck. Well, yeah, the depth, the thickness of the string has a bit of an impact actually, and vibratos here, when you go wide, you have to be careful with the second string. And I think maybe, I feel always, I'm conscious of the fact that, Alex, you're a great guitar player, but if I may give you a bit of maybe an insight, is that the thinner strings it's hard to feel when they're home again, just because of the tension. So you can try it on the 5th string, and you know exactly when you're resting. But these, you can play here, and you think you're home. And I feel that what happens there with a lot of people is that they always play with too much tension. So if you're used to tension, like you press your fingers too hard on the guitar, then you won't realize this extra bit of tension that is needed to do this. Like, let's say people play with 10% excess of tension. You only need like 1% excess to do this. And if 10% is your ground level, then you won't notice. And that's why I think people have trouble with the high strings, because it's so easy. It's so easy to get them out of tune, but it doesn't require any strength, and that's the problem. So really playing relaxed is very important, and also just keep everything in your ear. If you try to do techniques with your fingers, then you'll have problems. So always go with your ear. See, there's a definite sound that is home, and I have to return to it. And also very high registers, the waves are very fast and they're right next to each other, so tuning is a bit more of a problem, but it's also harder to hear. So it goes pretty deep, okay, as far as that goes, but maybe that will help you out. Not like you need a lot of help, Alex. We know how you play. But master both speed and depth of vibrato, not fix. Okay, that's one more thing that we should talk about. Speed and depth of the vibrato can change and should change or might change through time. Okay, so that's very simple. You don't have to start a vibrato at a certain speed and depth and stay there forever. You can work your way up to that depth or speed, or work your way down. And that's something that's often not done by people who do it with their fingers, because maybe they even develop a technique that is pretty good, but it becomes a technique, it becomes a physical thing, and then they're not listening. And so this sounds much worse than this, where you ramp it up and you make it a bit faster. And it really depends, it depends what you want to do. But my advice for that is always to play with your ear, right? Think what you want to hear and then let your fingers do it. And it works all the time. There's no debate about it. It's actually how you're supposed to do it. It's an art form that is musical, and it's based on your hearing. And so you should hear what you want and then do it. Right, and you can spend hours and hours and hours playing the same, whatever that is, doesn't sound too good, but you play it all the time and go like, maybe I should go deeper here, I should go wider there, I should go a bit faster, lay off the vibrato for these 3 notes. And that's the main problem. Usually I find that the main problem is people are not used to listening to a note without vibrato. Let that note be. Sometimes all you have to do is just play the note. And then, when you feel you need a vibrato, then it will come from your ear. You won't go like this, right? You will hear it, and you go, okay, now I need to do it. And how far, and how fast. Okay, so that's what I mean by mastering both speed and depth. Play with them. Don't let it become a nervous twitch, because then you play vibrato all the time and with the same characteristics. The frets on my guitar sit up high enough to get a good vibrato just from pressing on the string. Yeah, that's a great way to do it, actually. It's not a very delicate way of doing it, but it's quite precise, actually. I like the way how it falls back to 0. And I think that's it. Let me just plug this really quick, because I've had requests and some of you actually are signing up. But if you feel you need more help with this, I do have private lessons online or in person, although most of you guys, it's going to be online. And, because there's a limit to what I can do in these videos. And so for those who want, there's links, okay? Other than that, you should check out the books on legato and alternate picking. And if you have, please let me know what you're doing with them, if you are having a good time. And if you have any problems. Some people suggested, today's video was suggested by somebody, I don't know who. It was in a chat a few streams ago. Somebody else requested a video on rhythm, which is so interesting, and I can't believe I didn't think about it before. So I will do something on that, on how to deal with rhythm and playing, and of course from left field, as we often do in these videos. And I think somebody else had another idea, and then I'm working on a couple of things. Please do suggest topics for these streams, because I really enjoy making them, but we're going up in numbers. We're at 42 now. Probably I skipped a few, so more than 42. And it's not like I'm running out of ideas, but kind of. So help me out. And I will open it for questions. If you have any questions, I'll be here for a few minutes to answer. If not, we'll just adjourn to next week. In the meantime, I'll have a sip of tea as you think of, and type your questions. So I'll wait. Man, I wish I could do without the delay here in the chat room. Another level of mastering is vibrato over bend. Yes, we kind of got into it. We'll do maybe one on bendings. That would be interesting. But to me, okay, bye, that is art. Good to see you. And what I think of vibrato over bend, I think most people have a hard time because they do the bend with their fingers, and that's where the problem begins, because they reach this tension, which is really unsecure. And then they start vibrating with a joint or several joints that are becoming weak and tired, and they're not precise to begin with. So when you do it with, let's say you go, I don't know, and then you vibrate, you can always go back to that home pitch. Maybe we can talk about bends some other time. Jose says, can you elaborate a bit on circular vibrato dynamics? You mean the thing we talked about? I'm not an expert on it. I will share what I think it is, but if it's a Steve Vai thing, I think he will explain it better, surely. But my understanding is that you combine, you go up, right? But this is almost a bend, less than that. And then as you fall down to home pitch, you pull the strings toward the bridge, so you make it lower in pitch. Right? And so this is the lowest point. I'm at a resting spot, and I'm also the closest as I can be to pulling the string and making it loose. And then as I work my way down, I'm again raising the pitch while I'm pulling the string back. So this gives me probably the highest point, right, in pitch. So this is the half circle. But you see, I could never get rid of this, like the little wobbly midpoint. And maybe I should practice it more. Maybe I should investigate what he's doing. So I'm probably not the best person to teach you that, but certainly on YouTube there must be like 100 videos of Steve Vai explaining it. And maybe I will check them after this video is done. And I should have done it probably beforehand, but yeah. Well, some people call circular vibrato the fact that you actually go down and up. But I think you mean the Steve Vai thing, which I'm not sure he invented. Did he invent it? Was it something that was used before? I have no idea. Alex would probably know. All right, so as you type in your final questions, if you have any, let me thank everyone for being here, for subscribing if you have done so, and for supporting the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, those of you who want to, like if you find some of this stuff useful and you could have gotten in a regular guitar lesson, you say, wow, this is interesting and useful. You don't have to do it, but you can do it. There's links down here to support the channel. It's just, you know, a little PayPal thing. I know some people are not comfortable with the stickers, and because of Google and whatever, so they have PayPal. If you're not comfortable with PayPal either, it doesn't matter. You don't have to contribute. But for those of you who have asked, I don't have a Patreon, but I leave this link here, and so you can contribute if you want to. If you don't want to, you still get the full thing. I won't keep anything for Patreon. Certainly not now. You know, maybe, who knows, in the future I might have to do it, or maybe I'll come up with something that makes sense. But for me, this channel is for teaching everyone. And some of my viewers are from countries and places and situations where, you know, it doesn't make sense to make them pay through Patreon for the good stuff. So the good stuff is here. And then if you guys want or are able to, you can contribute. There's links. Okay, that's for everybody who's asked, and even if for those who haven't. And you heard it from some Vai stuff on True Fire. All right, thanks. Bye everyone. Bye Reki. Have a great one. Well, we'll investigate, right? And we'll talk about it some other time probably. So in the meantime, you have a great weekend. For those of you who are still in the weekend, if some of you are already, it's already Sunday for you if you're in Asia. But you have a great, whatever's left of your weekend, a great week ahead. Check out Tuesday's chord. I don't remember what it is, but it's going to be interesting. And make sure you watch all those videos, because I think when you watch them all together, you'll get a bigger understanding of chords, harmony, and all other kinds of stuff. Your ear will improve. So I'm really partial to my 1 chord a week videos. And I will see you next week. 100% or 90% chance I'll be live again. If not, I will make sure to record a video for you, but it should be here from the studio live. And have a great one, everyone. Thanks again for being here, and see you soon. Bye-bye.